All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. Thank you so very much, sir. Good evening again, once everyone. Thank you so much for joining. As we already know, for those of us that are here, oh wow, I can see that the numbers are increasing. Okay, okay, okay. All right. I don't know. Does anybody do you just I'm hoping that there are people joining from Australia here, but in like about 2 seconds, could you just type in the chat where you're joining us from, or maybe Norway? Somebody that has extra house there that is looking for somebody to just join them. I don't mind. I'm just putting this.
Happy, and you are still unmarried. So yeah, I hope
Okay,
you're.
so please let us know where you're joining from. Let's know where you're joining from. We can see Lagos, Lagos. Ah, please. I hope all of us are not from Lagos. So Australia, where are you? Yeah, where are you? Oh,
Didn't put that.
I see South Africa. Okay, okay, okay.
Did you put the time zone for Australia there? You didn't.
Okay, more. I see. There's a lot of Lagos. Okay, I see an Abuja here. Lagos. Hey, Lagos, Ibadan. Okay, hi, hello. Okay, I see Abuja. Okay, I see Ikorodu, Lagos. Awesome. So there's no Australia, no Norway. Somebody should just type it there. Just type it, even if
Republic
you are
of
not.
Benin. You want to run away to Australia. That's your problem. And you are not going anywhere. You are my EA. We're
Me,
together.
I'm not wrong. Me, no, I can't. I can't. I can't.
You're
All right.
looking for.
Before I hand over the mic, Lagos Ibadan Expressway. Ah, no, wait, no. Is that taking me to Australia? I'm Zimbabwe. Oh my God. Okay, thank you, everyone. Before I hand over the mic to Dr. Wani, I mean, for those of us, like I said, that are the regular stakeholders of all trainings, Dr. Wani, we already know that this is going to be a packed session. We know that the knowledge that is going to be coming is fresh, is going to be hitting us right at the spot that is needed. Without elongating this introduction, Dr. Wani is an amazing and transformational leader and educator as well, leading Meadowhall Group cut across that has over about 6 subsidiaries, and then she's also a leadership coach and a mentor, a very passionate and dedicated one at that. She comes with simplicity. Whatever it is that she's sharing with us, very, very applicable to your day-to-day lives. And I'm very sure that it's also going to be your experience, with this session on decision mastery. Um, Without further ado, I hand over the golden microphone to my one and only boss, Dr. Kende Wani. The floor is yours, man.
That's it. All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you all doing? Can I send the chat? How are you doing today? Ola Yinka, I can see the smiles. How are you doing today? Let me send the chat. How are we doing? Good, great, well rested. That's great. You're doing great. Thank God for that. John, great, great, great. That's good. That's good. Splendid. That's really good. All right. So when I do these trainings, honestly, I just always want us to just relax and have fun. Awesome. I like that. I just want us to relax and have fun. I don't say it as training or I love to share. I love to teach. They always say how you know your purpose is when you're ready to do things without being paid for. This is what I love to do. And so I hope to enjoy myself training on this. And I hope you also are able to enjoy yourself. So, decision making. Decision making is something I've always found to be very important. And the thing is, it's not just for leaders. Sometimes we feel decision making is maybe something that we focus on leadership. But decision making is a life skill. So if you're here today, you're a leader, or you are not a leader yet, the truth is everybody leads somebody, everybody follows somebody, even children. There are people that look up to them, they're leading them, and people that they follow. So it's a life skill. And it's very important and applicable to everybody in this on this platform. The problem is there's something we call analysis paralysis, or paralysis by analysis. When you are paralyzed by analysis, over analyzing, and it stops people from making power moves. Right from when my children are young, I begin to teach them about this decision making. So when a lot of us helicopter moms decide, no, this is the dress you're wearing that Cinderella dress, you are wearing this cap for the boys. Once they're old enough, I say to my children, what would you like to wear? I give them that ability to make such decisions because it's a gradual thing. And that decision I'm asking them to make at that point is not actually related to what they're going to wear to the party. What I'm actually doing with them is building their confidence. It's actually allowing them to think critically. Why should I wear the pink dress? Or why should I wear a cap or a bandana or whatever? Right from then, I begin to negotiate with my children. The skill of negotiation, which you will need at some point in time, when they're teenagers, by the time in their 20s, 30s, you will still come back to that negotiation. By the way, it's a leadership skill because negotiation is part of leadership skill. So for me, it's something that I've always been into. And I have always found it a little bit lacking in people when we want to promote people for leadership. So most of the time, you have people who are very sound technically. But when it comes to some leadership skills, and by the way, it's not supposed to be specifically a leadership skill, it's a life skill. But because a lot of times, especially in our culture, children are to be seen, not heard. How dare you make a decision on what you're going to wear or where you want to go? So most of the time we grow up, we know how to follow. We know how to be led. We know how decisions should be made for us and we run with it. That's why we make excellent managers most of the time. Because management is about the processes, the structure, you follow it, you ensure the people are following it. But leadership is about making decisions. In fact, you would even hear now that leadership has even gone beyond just making decisions because some decisions are just technical, just need technical solutions. Now we talk about adaptive challenges that leaders have to tackle. Adaptive challenges mean there are no clear answers. That is leadership for you. So I find it lacking a lot. Awesome technical people with technical skills, but leadership skills, especially decision making. So, of course, my leaders will tell you that's the first thing I tackle. Once I get people into leadership, we begin to look at decision making. And guess what? It has really helped me because today, as everybody, most of us might know, I'm very much into succession planning. How am I able to leave, maybe sometime I'm not there hovering over every company I run and the subsidiaries because I've groomed leaders. And the first thing we tackle is decision making. If they can't make decision, you have to be there. You are just like your children. That's why when you don't allow your children start making decisions, I guess you're going to follow them into their husbands' homes and their wives. And when they go abroad or go to any university in Nigeria, you follow them because you've always been the one making all the decisions. So leadership, decision making, but I've also tried to explain to you that it's not only for leaders, it's a life skill. When I think of decision making, I look at it as I do not play chess, but I understand what chess is about. And it's about those strategic moves that you make in chess. You can see that guy. There's well calculated, it's always so interesting for me when they just put something somewhere and then it's all over, It's strategic. Leadership, decision making, even in whatever situation, in marriage, with any situation, it's strategic. Why does a wife not just open her mouth? My husband has just come back from work. You open your mouth and start talking about something that you know that is going to say, look, woman, let me rest. Because you understand strategy. You understand there's a time for everything. It is the same at the workplace. It is the same in life. Decision making, knowing how to be strategic in how to proceed regarding things. I have had situations, and I'm sure a lot of us here have had situations in life where you've had to make decisions. Do you take the left or do you take the right? And I'm going to share one or two that I've gone through, but I would actually love for one or two people to tell us where they've been at a crossroads like this, where they're trying to decide, do I go left? Do I go right? I remember when we were looking for a permanent site, where we were on Bashoro Kusoya in Lekki. We were there. Those who studied with me, I can see a number of them here. We were there, but when God has his hand on something, within the first year or so, we needed to rent another building on the same road. And of course, while it was good news for us, we were happy. We were growing exponentially. My neighbors were like, what is going on here? We started to have neighborhood meetings and people will come and, and things like that. And I remember there was I had a neighbor, just the neighbor right beside us, a Muslim woman. And one day she said to me, she said, look, I will fight you with everything I've got if you do not get out of this street. Here was I running for school. I started to look for somewhere. Where can I get another property? I needed to make a decision of where. My driver at that time, he's been with me. My driver at that time had been with me. In fact, before he left my employment, he had been with me for as much, maybe about 30 something years. He said to me, there's somewhere, outskirts of Lagos, but there's somewhere there. There's land, and because of my desperation, one day I followed him. He was right inside of, you go past all those coastal roads. And I'm like, okay, desperation. I needed to get out of there. The threats were getting too much. Thank God for my husband. He was driving right behind me. And at some point in time, he messaged me, he called me, I picked the phone because I'd gone there to look at the land. I said, okay, come and have a look at it. My husband said, we hadn't even gone far. He said, is this where you want to go and establish? This is where you want to establish a school. You think people will follow you in here? He just said, look, I'm turning back. I'm going back to work. Decision making. At that time, I wasn't an expert because, I had to weigh. I needed to get out of where I was. The pressure was getting too much. But then where the land was, that I thought, okay, I'm sure, what we say, once the standard is good, people will come. That's in the past. Location is part of the most important decisions you will make in business. These tough decisions, you have to make decisions with small things, with big things. That was a really tough one that I needed to make. Do I go that far? Location, which one? You would see, you find land here, but then maybe there's no title, it's Omonile, and there might be problem later. And so many things like that. Another decision I had to make at some point, and I'm hoping that by now somebody would have an example for me, was during COVID. Small decisions, big decisions. Getting a permanent site was a tough decision for me. COVID, there was this awesome teacher we had, really, really good. Now, the policy or what we had decided as a school at that time was we would take the vaccine because, there's the vaccine, people were, but quite a number of people did not want to take the vaccine because of religious purposes. And Meadowhall is a faith-based school. So I couldn't say, I don't care what you're talking about, faith doesn't matter, because I do believe in faith. But then this lady says, I will not take the vaccine. Here we were, faith-based school. Most of us understood why we needed to take the vaccine, and most of us took the vaccine. I said to her once, I said, okay, so do you feel this is fair? We are protecting you, but you are not ready to protect us. Now, what made it more difficult was this lady was part of our prayer group. So, what would I do? Then I thought, okay, you don't need to take the vaccine for religious purposes, but do the testing. You would have to do the testing frequently so that if there's COVID, you can stay back. The children are safe. Members of staff, other members of staff will be safe. And she said, no. She said, in their church, they're not doing testing, they're not doing. But she was an awesome teacher in a subject that in secondary, that to get people to teach that class can be very difficult. What do you do? Decisions, decisions, decisions.
Are you serious?
Larry B, please, can you mute? Larry B, can somebody mute Larry B? So,
sorry. Apologies.
no problem. So decisions, small or big, can be very, very tricky. How did I tackle my decisions? That's what I'll be talking about today. How I learned to make sure that I make good decisions. So before I proceed, I would like to hear from anybody. Have you ever had to make any decision that was quite tricky? Please, I don't like quiet classes. I want somebody to volunteer and be a blessing to somebody else.
Yeah, I would like to volunteer. Hi,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dare. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Dari.
Yeah.
And so in 2017, right? So I run two non-for-profits in 2017. So something I started in 2013, but some people have been working with me, showing up. But in 2017, it just got to a time where it seemed like they were in a different phase in their life, basically. And so I had to make a tough decision to let them go, right? And the moment I made that decision, I felt bad. Things shifted for the organization in such a way that it was different, right? So it was a very tough decision because these were people I had worked with for years.
I
We had
know.
worked together. But all of a sudden, like I wanted them to go to the next level, but they were just not in that headspace. So in making that tough decision, I mean, I felt bad at that point, but now seeing the results over time, made me now feel
Right.
better about it.
Yeah. It's always a tough thing, isn't it? It's always a tough thing because maybe you start with some people, they've been there for a long time, but you are going, right? But sometimes, not everyone, sometimes it's difficult to shift there. This is where we're going. Because the vision grows, right? And then you see that this is the path now. But we start, what do you mean? Why are we going to that direction? It can be very tough, very emotional. That is a beautiful, beautiful example. Thank you so much for that, Dari. All right. So because of time, let's go into it. What is decision making? I always like to we'll make it very practical, but it's always good to really take it from the foundation. What is decision making? Both for individuals and organizations. What is it? Simply at this most simplistic explanation I can give, it's making a decision, choosing the best option from a set of choices. It's decision making. You have a set of choices. You are hoping to solve a particular problem or achieve a particular goal, and you need to decide what is the best option. Now, it is a key part of what we do in our organizations, as Dari explained now, as I have also given you an example. It's a key part of the process in an organization. Decisions would have to be made. What you also find out is that decision-making is very, very key to being a manager or a leader in an organization. So it is why we'll say that decision-making is part of the leadership development of anybody who's going to be, it's part of their leadership development plan, decision-making. That said, as we said, everybody from the gate men who would know, should I open the gate to this parent? For example, if you run a school, I have different people from different organizations and different industries here. But you run a school, should I open the door? This lady doesn't have the family identification card. Does she come in or not? Somebody is holding a gun. Should I open the door or not? You'll be surprised how people don't use their mind at thinking. So it is what we do in organizations. It is what individuals do. It is what leaders and managers do. Decision-making is important, not just to the individual, to the organization and any organization in achieving their objectives. There is no way you're going to achieve your objectives if you do not make responsible decisions. So decision-making, that process, is very important one. And you have to make good decisions, not just the good decisions, it is also making the decisions in a timely manner. A lot of us, and that's why we're talking about analysis paralysis. Paralysis by analysis. Sometimes when we get overwhelmed, you know what people do when they get overwhelmed? They just leave everything. They just can't handle it. So some people will take the wrong decision. Some will just give up. We talk about procrastination at some point in time today. So how do you make decisions? How do you make decisions? How do I make decisions? In my personal life and professional decisions, I use all these ways I've listed. I am a faith person. Most people, except you're an atheist, you do have some kind of faith or the other. Either you're Muslim or Christian or Hare Krishna or whatever. Most people have one kind of faith or the other. Because most people believe that we did not just drop from heaven. They believe that there's a higher being there. For me, when I'm looking at decisions, both personal and professional, spiritual, I will talk to my God. What should I do? Which way should I go? It's a way of making decisions. I speak to mentors. Those of us who feel too much, we don't have any mentor. I'm sorry for you. Mentors, you speak to people who have walked that path before. We speak to mentors. My husband is my accountability partner. Another training I did once, I was talking about who are you responsible? Who is the person that can call you out? Who can talk to you? Who can tell you that, look, tell you the truth? Everybody must have such a person in their lives. That would be my husband. He would do it in a very, very nice way, but he would. Please hold on a minute. I just have some people making a lot of noise here. Let me just call them too. I'm sorry. I get distracted with. So that would be my husband. That would be my children. I can feel free to discuss with them. because I know they always have the best. They have the good. They have my good at heart. They would really. What else do I do when I want to make decisions? Coaches. I am a coach, but they say a coach that doesn't have a coach is not a good coach. So speak to leadership coaches, business coaches, life coaches. They would help you get unstuck wherever you're stuck. Please hold on. Mimi. So, yeah, I listen to the team. You don't walk alone, do you? Listen to your team. I have learned as a leader to be the last to talk. Every leader who still shares their opinion first, you are doing the wrong thing. Because there's just that tendency for people to just follow your thoughts. They're not even following it because they're trying to be just like sycophants. No, they just instantly begin to shift whatever they were thinking. So, how do I make decisions? I listen to the team. I listen to members of my team. I seek for knowledge, formally, informally. I'm a learner to the core. When you're reading informally, you are reading books, you're reading, summaries of books, whatever. I do a lot of formal training. I get, go for courses, get trainings and things like that. But what I'm going to focus on today, which most of these things you all do, what we don't do a lot of right now is using decision-making models. Because I got your questions, a lot of questions are around that. I hope I have the questions here. I should bring the questions. A lot of the questions are around how do we make decisions? And those questions can be answered with, I'm going to give you two. There are many ways. There are so many. If you go online, you'll find so many models of decision making. But I'm going to use two: decide model and practical wisdom. Sorry. Yeah, practical wisdom. So I want to say something too. As leaders, please teach the people you lead how to make decisions. A lot of times we know how to make decisions, but we do not teach people how to make decisions. Just as we fail sometimes to teach our children how to. We expect people to just know how to make decisions. It doesn't work that way. So I'm going to look at decide model and also practical wisdom. The decide model is an acronym that stands for these. The D, this is just the most simplistic way. And once you know how to use this, trust me, it becomes like clockwork. You know how skills are built? This is a skill. Decision making is the skill. So once you're building that skill, once you know how to, it becomes automatic. D stands for determine the problem. E stands for you need to establish the criteria. I'm going to break it down even further. C there stands for considering all the alternatives. I stands for identifying the best alternative out of all the alternatives that you looked at. D stands for develop a plan of action. E stands for evaluate the solution. It is that simple. But what this does, it breaks it down. This is how you teach people, even the children, teenagers, adults, leaders, anybody. If they can understand this, decision making becomes so much easier. So let me go into each of them. Defining the problem. I'm sure most of us think, oh, that's very basic. Guess what? It's one of the most difficult aspects of decision making. Because when there's an issue, narrowing it down to know what really the issue is a problem. A lot of us want to solve problems. We talk about problem solving. But guess what? We cannot identify problems. A lot of us we don't understand how to use critical thinking to determine what the real problem is. So most of the time, we're putting Band-Aid on a wound. We're not solving the disease. You are just covering that problem because you haven't identified the right problem. And that is where you go wrong altogether, because if the problem is already wrong, you are fixing the wrong thing. Let me give you an example. I will use examples a lot from a school scenario because I'm in education. I'm a leader in education. One of the things I do, leadership in education, NGOs, and all that, but I'll take from the education aspect. So a child is in a class and is sleeping all the time. For you don't know, for the past for some time, the child comes in and falls asleep. And teacher gets angry, then feels, what is the matter with this girl? She's just lazy, or these parents are so irresponsible. They will not let the children go to bed on time. Okay, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to punish her. She's going to do this. She's going to have self-detention. Meanwhile, maybe the real problem is that this particular child is going through something, maybe grief, maybe has just lost a mom, maybe mom or dad is ill. There's something going on. Maybe abuse is going on. You do not know what it is, but you have jumped to conclusion. So you are trying to solve the problem of sleeping. She's going to go for detention. I'm going to write to mommy and daddy, you need to just make sure the child goes to bed on time. You condemn the mom, you condemn the dad, you are the judge and the jury. Defining the problem appropriately is where it starts. By the way, it is the first sign of good entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are able to look at things and find gaps. That is a strength. It is a strength for me, and I thank God for it. You're able to look at things and you're able to discover that this is what is missing. So perchance some of you are here and you think someday I want to do something on my own. If you have the ability to spot problems, you will be quite good at it. A lot of people want to solve problems they cannot spot. So define the problem. What is the real problem? This girl that is sleeping in class, is it because she's lazy, she doesn't sleep early, or what is the problem? You need to determine what it is. What should be done about it? Or can anything be done about it? So that is where you need to spend quite a bit of time. And this is where people miss it. When we talk about GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Once you have missed it at the initial part, you've missed the whole process. So D there stands for defining the problem adequately, appropriately. E in decide says, after you have rightly deciphered the question, you now have to establish the criteria. It's like setting setting boundaries around the problem, because even when you find the problem, there are some things that you dare not touch, because if you touch that aspect, you are going to create a bigger problem. So let's imagine there's a problem, maybe a teacher who is very good at what he does or she does, but is terrible with children. He doesn't know how to manage a class, or is just rude and just those people who are just not nice. And then your own decision is I'm going to fire him. Now you have thrown away the good and the skills and the positives of that teacher. You have thrown it away. You've thrown away the baby with the bathwater, because you did not establish the criteria at the onset. When you find a problem, you need to then establish the criteria. What do I want to achieve with my decision? This teacher is too harsh, and the children are unhappy in his class. That is what do you want to do? You want to ensure that the children in that teacher's class are happy, they can engage, they can learn, and that would help improve the students' learning outcomes. That is what you want to achieve. What do you want to preserve? He's a fantastic teacher. You want to preserve that. You don't want to throw that away. Or you have come down so hard on that teacher that you have demoralized, demotivated the teacher. The person is just a shell waiting to find the next job. What do you want to avoid as problems? So when you define the problem, you need to establish what you want to keep as you are finding the solution and what you want to discard. It's very important that you set boundaries around whatever decisions you're going to do. The C part says, consider all the alternatives. So you have defined the problem, the right problem. You know what the real problem is. You have set boundaries around it. You have been able to say, to decipher this must not be affected. Because if this is affected, it will create bigger problems. You have decided that this is what I need to fix. And this is what we need to achieve through whatever solution we give. You now start doing what? Considering all the alternatives. Again, this is where we miss it, because considering all the alternatives means that you have enough alternatives. This is where you are talking to people. You are learning from mentors. You are talking to friends, people that can, I'm not saying you're going to carry your office matter, but you are saying that, look, there are many ways I like to tap people's brains. I believe a lot in collaboration. And, hypothetically, what does one do in this situation? And that kind of a thing. You need to have enough alternatives through research, through, just informal learning, because, and through experience. When you have a lot of alternatives, in our organization, we talk about, we always make data-informed decisions. We'll collect data, and then based on that data, that's how we make our decisions. In collecting data, who are you collecting data from? How thorough is the data you're collecting? How expansive is it? Is it from the right people that will give you the right, the right outlook for you to know exactly what is going on? So sometimes we limit it to our knowledge. Remember, 21st century is about collaboration. It's about collaboration, which is why every time we talk about collaborative communities of practice, supportive communities of practice, it exists in every industry. Engineers, doctors, teachers, they come to communities, bankers, where there's a lot of informal learning going on, because you have people to rub minds with. So consider all the alternatives. Make sure that you have, all the different alternatives. Make sure you have done a thorough job there so that you have enough to consider from. Then identify the best alternative. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where it's quite difficult. But with experience, with practical wisdom, which I'll tell you more of in a bit, you are able to decide this out of everything. Remember, you have already narrowed down, what you want to preserve in the first, when you talk about the E, which is established criteria. You've already narrowed things down a bit. Now, because you've narrowed it down, you know what you cannot touch, what cannot be, affected. Now, you then have 10 alternatives. This is where your experience, I'll teach you about practical wisdom. That's where they come in. Also, having somebody, accountability partners, somebody you can, like a sounding board, running things by people. Another way we look at when you're trying to identify the best alternative is always, I want you to always think, in 3 months' time, would I still be happy with this alternative? Look at the future. Try and just imagine that decision and the future. If I decide to just chuck out the teacher, well, I'm tired, parents are complaining, children are just tired, like he has to go. In 3 months' time, when I'm maybe looking for another teacher who most of the time might not even be as good as the person. And guess what? Most of the time, because of our culture, you will find the same problem in most of them. Would I still be happy with the decision of just terminating his appointment, or with a decision that involves maybe training him, coaching him? Would it be better? Always step into the future and try and see if your decision, you will not regret it. What would things be like at that time? Would it be worth your emotions at that time? And of course, D in decide stands for developing and implementing a plan of action. Once you have then decided, this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to give this teacher more training. He needs more training on emotional intelligence. He needs more training on classroom management. I would now develop a plan and how to implement it. Because it's not just the list, it's like really now developing a proper plan that incorporates the goals, your SMART goals, and the how, the resources you would need, everything you would need in order to be able to carry out that plan of action. And then E stands simply for you continue to monitor. You continue to look at your decision, troubleshoot. Is it working? You evaluate it again, you tweak it again. It's a very iterative process. You would look at it, we call it action-based learning. So you put it into action. Is it actually making a difference? Has it solved giving you the solution you're looking for? And if it has, that's it. You solve the problem. If it's not solving it, you tweak it. Did we get it wrong at the problem, defining the problem? Was it the wrong problem? Did we actually set the right criteria in place? Did we choose the right alternative? That is it. Decide, define the problem, establish the criteria. C stands for considering all the alternatives. I stands for identifying the best alternative. D, implementing, developing and implementing a plan of action. And then E stands for monitoring and evaluating that decision you made. And, if you feedback, if there's, if feedback is necessary, if not, you continue to tweak it until you're sure. So what the decide model does is just help you. If you look at this, every decision you've ever made, most likely you have used this in one, maybe not all the processes, but you've used this in one way or shape or the other. So the more astute you are in making these decisions, in using this kind of model, you would then just make decisions like that. You make decisions like that. When children are said, when I say, for example, my children could, when they were very young, make decisions, I'm sure they would look at it. Okay, what's the problem? I want to look good at the party. Maybe this is going to be a very nice party. I really want to look my best. Look my best. What, so they might not think of evaluate the E part, which is establishing a criteria, but they'll probably have alternatives. Do I wear the pink one? Do I wear the yellow one? And all that. And so steps, part of this everybody uses, but it's all bringing this together. If you are not good with decision making, it will help you. If you are a leader, teach the people you. Sometimes we make demands of people that we lead when you have not taught them. That is unfair. It is unfair. I, as a leader, have taught my leaders this, and they use it, and now decision making is quite easy for them. Of course, sometimes they'll still call me and we will look at things. So I'm going to go into another way we make decisions, because part of what we're doing today is actually answering your questions. But I realize that by the time I, prepare this and talk about, most of those questions would be answered. By the way, I need to quickly get those questions. Please, let me get somebody to bring the questions down. Give me 1 minute. Are we learning? Let me see that in the chat box. Are we learning? questions? Any questions before I go on? Any questions? Any? Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Does anybody have any question before I go into practical wisdom? Yeah? Okay. Maybe at the end, maybe at the end. It is such a simple way. So I saw a lot of questions. I'm trying to get my paper that has all the questions. I saw a lot of questions on how do I overcome indecision? This is how you overcome indecision. If you know how to make a decision, then you will make the decision. But when you don't know how, then you can't. You're going to be paralyzed. Or paralysis, analysis paralysis will set in. You don't know what to do. That is what happens. Let me quickly go to practical wisdom. This is supposed to be for 1 hour. Supposed to be for 1 hour. And I really want to take your questions. So the other thing that works, thank you. The other thing that works when we're talking about decision making, I learned this during my, what did I do? Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen, everybody?
Oh,
Yeah?
Not anymore,
No, ma'am.
Oh my gosh, what did I do? Okay, let me reshare. Let me reshare it. Is it back, or I need to just stop sharing? No, it's not back.
It's back.
It's back. It's back now, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much. So I learned about practical wisdom during my doctorate, my thesis. And this actually got me, in fact, after I was asked to come and present, and all that, because I was bringing practical wisdom, which is to do with psychology, into education. Aristotle, one of the Greek philosophers, is the one that talks about practical wisdom. And in education, what I did was to show that even though we have policies, we have rules that guide, we have curriculums that guide what a school does, that teachers and leaders still need practical wisdom in order to apply rules. That was the angle for which I brought my thesis. And it's something that is, when I explain it to you, you would understand. It's very easy to understand, and it's very practical. So Aristotle was a student of his own mentors, Socrates and Plato. So I call them SPA, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. So Aristotle was the younger one. He learned at the feet of Socrates and Plato. Socrates and Plato said, wisdom is very abstract. Wisdom is this, very, those wise old sage where you have those long beard, Greek philosophers, they will sit down hours just discussing wisdom. Aristotle said he agrees, but that wisdom is also practical. It is the practical thing. It is not just theoretical. It is not just abstract. He said it's practical. And when I saw that, and I realized that a lot of times that's the problem we have. When you have maybe industries, organizations, schools, even legal systems that are very, very ruled, it's very based on policies, are very much based on policies and rules that don't allow people to think. You're not helping those people at all, because they just follow the rules, but there will be situations that there are no rules. There will be situations that they need to handle themselves. And because they were never taught how to think, Tolani, can you please mute? They were never taught how to think. They don't know what to do. They are the same people you promote to become leaders. Why have I followed Aristotle? Please just look at this beautiful words of wisdom of Aristotle. I love this man. I love the practice. He's the wise man. Look at the first one. It has nothing to do with practical wisdom, but I wanted to show you that this man is wise. He said, and I want you on the chat, I want you to agree with me or not. He says the antidote for 50 enemies is one friend. Do we agree or not? What do you think about that? The antidote to 50 enemies, just have one solid friend. Somebody that's always with you in your corner. How would you feel? Absolutely. I thought it was so spot on. Because when you have nobody, or you have all this casual friend, well, you have one solid friend. It's an antidote. It will fix all those 50. It will fix, it's a fix to it. He said, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. What do we think about that? Is Aristotle wise or not? Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Look at people who sign off their work with mediocrity. They are the people that hate their organization. They don't care. They are the people that say, you want to kill yourself. If you want to die, it's not even your business. But those who really care about the organization, you will see perfection. You will see excellence. You will see, I have my team and a lot of them in my workplace. They will say, we are Meadowhall. We are the human beings, and we are the company. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Lovely. He says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. Isn't that smart? Isn't this man, isn't he wise? Or wasn't he? Because this was before Christ, BC. He says, those who know do, those that understand teach. So knowing something, we would do. Understanding it, you can teach, but when you know it, you will do it. So that is the man that have brought his idea on practical wisdom. How to make decisions with practical wisdom. Isn't it an oxymoron? Doesn't it sound like an oxymoron? Practical and wisdom. How? Because we all see somebody who is wise, like that sage, wise old man. A lot of us, when we picture God, we picture him like one, like with long beard, because he's all wise, all knowing. We see wisdom as abstract, as theoretical, as Sophia. Sophia, in the Greek culture, they call the goddess of wisdom. That's what Socrates believed. That's what Plato believed. He also believed it, but he thought that beyond that, there's a practical side to wisdom. Of course, the British people began to name their children Sophia. Queens became Sophia. And I put the picture of my darling mother, who is 97 now, and her name is Sophia. That's how I got interested. And we all knew that Sophia, her name meant wisdom. And was she, or is she, a wise woman? Absolutely so. Now, what then is practical wisdom? What is Aristotle, or what did he refer to as practical wisdom? That first point, that is, if I was to summarize this, that's what it means. Practical wisdom combines it has three key components: experience, ethical judgment or moral judgment, and common sense. He says that if you are going to be wise, you will know when to do the right thing to the right person at the right time for the right reasons. You just know. You just know. You just know. Now, he's saying, you just know, and I'll tell you why he says you just know. I'll go to that on the next page. So practical wisdom is needed. Let me tell you when you need it. When you have to balance two good things, for example. There are two good things. Let me take in a school again. You need to finish the curriculum because these children are going to sit exams. But the children in your class don't understand. So that's not two good things, but those are two conflicting aims. You need to finish curriculum, Children are going to sit exams. What does the teacher do? These are the things that you will not find in the policy, and teachers don't know what to do. So they decide to do different things. Okay, I'll call them for extra lesson. Some of them, okay, I'll just let this one go. I can't die. This one, I can't teach this one. Because they don't have practical wisdom. It is not what to do at the right time with the right person. It's like a poetic saying, knowing when to do the right thing to the right person at the right time for the right reasons. How? It is when you have to balance two good things. Marriage, let me take marriage. You find two good men, two fantastic men. They have all the qualities you want. Which one do you choose? You can't marry the two. Practical wisdom. Or that could be for the men. Two good women. What do I do? Practical wisdom. So practical wisdom helps us to balance short-term results with long-term values. It is what we call the judgment virtue. Judgment virtue. His words for practical wisdom was phronesis or prudence. Now, what's the difference between just using critical thinking and practical wisdom? It is because, and this is where the explanation of practical wisdom really comes in. He says that you must possess both moral virtues and ability to think critically. So critical thinking alone will not cut it. When he's talking about practical wisdom, it is not how smart you are. He says that when you have very smart people and there's no moral check, what happens? They are the ones that do evil in the society. They are the ones that hack. They are the ones that kidnap. They are the ones that, because they're smart, they understand strategy, but there's no moral check. That is why you'd have a teacher in a school that would maybe do bad things to a student, maybe, men sometimes, maybe they like a girl, and before you know, they are, all the things, and they're strategizing because there's no moral check, but there's critical thinking. How can I sort this out? Or cheating, helping people cheat. Once you have critical thinking and there is no virtue, you are not practically wise. You are just cunning. You are cunning. You are in fact evil. Evil, because evil, they know how to strategize. But he says, if you are going to be practically wise, you will have the ability to think critically, what he calls common sense, but you also have moral virtue. You have moral virtue. You can balance the two. Now, some people have moral virtue, but they don't have critical thinking. I'm sorry, that happens to a lot of people with faith. They are the ones that will lift up the phone and be waiting for alerts to drop inside their phone without working. Is that wise? No. So he says, if you're going to be practically wise, you must know how to think, but you have a check inside of you. This was before Christ. It was BC. So what they preached at that time was morality, virtues. That is practical wisdom. So you see why I said it will help you when you are deciding which alternative, because you as a moral person, you will not make a decision that would harm any other person, and you're able to weigh things properly because you know how to do the right thing to the right person at the right time and for the right reasons. What guides you in doing the right thing, not just what you think is correct, the right thing. What helps you? It is your moral, it's your sense of virtue, your morality, as well as critical thinking. Just because of time, I need to wrap up now. I like the last point here. It is how to understand, not to overdo, nor underdo. He gives examples here. I want you to look at the chart I have in front of me. Practical wisdom. He said, when you understand the golden mean, you will know what practical wisdom is. So it is somewhere in the middle of two extremes. Practical wisdom is in the middle of two extremes, between the extreme of vices and the extreme of excesses, deficiencies and excesses. So, in a situation where there's danger, are we together? Are we together? Can I hear just unmute and say yes? I want to know that I'm not just putting this and you're saying, oh, she's doing a PhD thing.
Yes,
Are we
yes,
there?
Yes, ma.
yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma.
I
Good.
together, ma'am.
Yes,
Are very
ma.
much together, man.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Wani.
So, in a situation of danger, somebody who is practically wise will know cowardice exists, recklessness exists, courage is the mean. That's the virtue. So, you see, you are going in a car, you see a woman is being mugged and there's a gun. If you are reckless, you will go there. I want to save the damsel. Is it damsel in distress? You just go there and you are shot and killed and your own family is crying, God forbid. If you're a coward, you run away and this has nothing to do with me, you run away. If you have courage, what could you do? It could be that you drive to where you see the next police checkpoint and you say to the police, there's something going on right there, and you do something. You are being courageous, whatever the situation is. Let me give another example. Let me say giving of gifts. Some people are miserly. That's a deficiency. You cannot get water from them. They're so miserly. But some people are so extravagant. They will give everything away. What do they call it? Black tax, because there's black tax where everybody needs something from us. They give everything away. They have done first fruit. They have done tithe. They have done giving to every family member. And at the end of the day, you are looking. And even as I'm talking right now, she's saying that we should not. All those, I'm a Christian, I'm the pastor, I pay tithes, I do whatever I need to do. But I'm saying, are you thinking? Do you know how? Practical wisdom. It is different when you're very miserly and over generous. The middle part is just being generous. People will know you give. You give. You do what you're supposed to give. The Bible says, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. You give what you're supposed to give. And people are blessed, but you are not stupid in your giving. That is what practical wisdom is. Can you see how it relates to life, to real life? Yeah? Let me take another one. Social conduct. Some people are very rude and obnoxious. They just don't know how to behave. That's a deficiency. On the other extreme is people who are subservient. Yes, yes, ma, yes, man. Their head will be hitting the floor. Everything is okay. They're just yes people. That's. But can we be somewhere in the middle where you are friendly, at work professional, without being rude or subservient? That's really what practical wisdom is. So I'm going to give this 8 more minutes and then we'll answer questions. So normally I'll go into breakout rooms where we don't have this kind of time, but I just want you to see the kind of situations where you need to apply practical wisdom. Mrs. Zobafiso, I believe I heard your voice. Can you please just quickly read out this case study? We won't be able to answer it today. I would give you the case studies later to go and think about so you can begin to practice practical wisdom. Are you there? Can you read quickly for me, please? Ms. Obafisoye, are you there? If she's not, who else is there that knows? Princess, can you read?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, case one, the doctor. Dr. Ade, who runs a private hospital, is a very compassionate doctor who desires often to spend enough time with each of his patients. He is kind, thorough, and understanding, with a desire to see patients feel heard and happy. However,
he's hard to balance.
He had to balance this desire with the number of patients he attends to in a day in order to keep the hospital solvent, that is, to make a business able to run itself and be profitable. How does he navigate this need to help people and making his hospital profitable and sustainable at the same time?
That's it. Doctors are like teachers. They have a heart for the people. So Dr. Ade runs a private hospital. Very compassionate. People will sit down, they will talk about the issue they have, they will go to their marriage, they will go to this, and 2 hours is still with one patient. It happens even right now. You are sitting, the doctor is with the patient, 2 hours, they're still there. Now, at the end of the day, this is a private hospital that needs to pay its staff. It's not receiving money from anywhere. How does it keep the hospital profitable while still having a heart for his patient? Practical wisdom. He needs practical wisdom. Case 2. Princess, please read case 2 quickly.
Case 2, the class teacher, Mrs. Olabumi, a teacher in a secondary school in Lagos State, has to follow the curriculum and get the students ready for exams, which sometimes involves teaching to the test, as there is no time to fully engage the children and assess their learning before the next topic has to be taught. Now, she's aware that quite a number of her students do not have a deep understanding of the topics taught earlier, yet the administrators, school leaders, regulators, and even the government demand for her to complete the curriculum and deliver excellent results. What are the
Excellent result.
Yeah.
Open to this teacher. They have to teach to the test because government wants, during their time, political, children are doing well. The results have improved. School owners are like, the children better do well. Yet she knows that the children in her class, maybe they haven't gotten the full grasp of something, topics that she's taught. What are the options open to her? That is why no matter how many policies you have, people will be in situations where they need to use practical wisdom. How do you cultivate it? Really, practical wisdom is called, there's no recipe, there's no formula. How do we become practically wise? It is experience that you gather along the way. Most of the time, it is trial and error. So that is why if you're an owner of a business or a leader, you need to let people, give them autonomy. Sometimes they will fail. It is okay. You don't fire them. They will never build practical wisdom if you do not allow them to have autonomy, to make decisions. The only thing is you are careful with the decision you are asking them to make. You continue to increase the element of challenge as they begin to do well in decision. When the children, they start making decisions about what they wear, then you begin to, give them more ability. Maybe it could be the friends they keep and things like that. So you have to if your organization is one that it is zero tolerance for any kind of mistake, you can never build practical wisdom. So it's evaluated experience, reflection, see mistakes as learning opportunities. Of course, you need to avoid costly mistakes. Then you learn from good decision makers. Myself and my team, we hang out. We will sit down. So there was a time before I traveled, we will go out together. They can glean from me. I can glean from them, So they interact with me and how I make decisions. They ask questions. How do you develop practical wisdom? Ask questions. Don't pretend to know it all. A lot of us are too proud. Don't pretend to know it all. Continue to learn. Go for courses. Bravo to all of you that attended today. Just continue to learn. So there's a scenario I put here because of time that would give you very practical ways of using the decide and the practical wisdom. But because of time, I will send this to you. You can look at it and evaluate. I need to answer your questions. So, who are you? Ladies and gentlemen, who are you? Are you a virtuous person? Aristotle says, if you are not virtuous, you can never make good decisions. You can make selfish decisions. You can make self-focused decisions, but you will not make good, well-balanced, responsible decisions because there's no moral check. And for those of us who are moral people, but you will never develop yourself. You don't read, you have not developed yourself to think critically. Everything is, I'm going to use the Quran to decide what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the Bible. I'm going to use whatever. And God gave us our brain for something. You don't use it. That's the kind of person that jumped into the lion's den in Ibadan, years ago, and said, he knows Jesus is going to save him. Moral, but no common sense. So, who are you? Are you virtuous? If you are virtuous, you use your brain, critical thinking, common sense, and you build on experience. How do you build your experience? Is by evaluating. You evaluate. They say when an adult falls, the first thing the adult does is to look back. Why did I trip? When the child falls, they just keep running. Are you a child? Are you mature? If you're mature, you're learning from your experiences and it's changing you. When you have experience, you're ethical, you make ethical judgments, and you have your common sense and you use it. Aristotle says you will make good decisions. So I'm going to take your questions now. I got a lot of questions sent. We might not be able to finish all the questions, but we're just going to now look at some of the questions. Now, I want to say in the chat, first of all, any questions about practical wisdom or the decide model? Because that wasn't part of the questions you sent. You didn't know what I was going to teach. Any questions about the decide model or practical wisdom before I answer your questions? Anybody? Princess, can you please try and check if there's any question or anyone raising their hands? Any
No
question?
so
Yeah?
far.
Yes, please go
No
ahead. Oh, none.
questions so far.
Okay, okay.
One second. Someone is trying to ask their question.
Okay, please go ahead. I'm going to give us a minute to think about what we learned before I answer your questions. Yep. How did you know they were trying to? They were typing, you could see them typing, or you said someone is trying to answer a question.
No, there was a chat that I saw from Malaika that she couldn't unmute.
Oh, no. That's Mrs. Mabasa she couldn't, when I called her to read before. All right, no question. Are you sure? Okay, let me see if there are no questions. Did you understand it? Let me do a quick assessment. Quick assessment. What are the 3 things you need to be practically wise? 3 things. I mentioned 3 things for you to be someone who Aristotle says has practical wisdom. Let me see in the chat. Let me see. If nobody gets it, I'm logging off right now. 3 things that shows that you are practically wise. I mentioned it, I still rounded up with it. 3 things. Helen, thank you. Good. Very good. Very good. Moral values, critical thinking, and experience. That is it. When you have built experience, a lot of times my people are like, how are you able to make these decisions? Because I have experience. I have experience. I'm a learner. I've built experience over the years. I am somebody who is very critical in their thinking, in her thinking. I'm very logical. It's possibly when I started my career, I started as a lawyer. I've done much more of education now. I almost twice as much of education now. But maybe that helped me in my logical reasoning. I am not an emotion. I consider people's emotions, but I think critically. And moral virtues. I believe that I need to be fair to people. I'm a person of faith. Those 3 things help me. Very good. So thank you for those who answered. Very, very good. So I can't answer all the questions, but I'm going to answer some. Somebody talked about joining any community. I have the communities. I have several communities. So we'll give you more information about it. My executive assistant will give you more information about it. But these are so many communities I have. There's ABL, A Beautiful Life by Kenny. There's my DKN alumni, TTN, Transformational Teachers Network, and so many. So get a number and please join my community, different communities. Someone says, how do I get free from indecision? That is what I've answered. How do I get free from indecision? First of all, to get free from indecision, once you understand, I've given you tools to use. I need to make a decision. I've just given you tools. One tool is the decide model. Define the problem. Establish the criteria with which you are going to decide what must not be touched as you are deciding on what to do to fix the problem. You are going to then consider all the alternatives. What do I do? I can also do this. Yes. In fact, my friend said they did this before. In fact, I also read that there are 5 alternatives already. That's C. I means they identify the best option. How do you identify the best option? Use practical wisdom. Look at your experience. Look at the moral part of it. Use your critical thinking. How do I identify the best option? Look into the future. 3 months' time, would I still be happy with it? Because that's you considering the short-term goal and measuring it against the long-term goal. Once you've done that, then you decide on a plan. You implement it. You develop a plan. You implement the plan. And you continue to evaluate it. You continue to evaluate, monitor, evaluate it, tweak it until it's sorted. So, to get free of indecision, the first thing to do is know how to make decisions. I've given you 2 tools today. Decide model. I'm using practical wisdom. Another thing I've noted that you can do here, you see, one saying I'm known for is just start. Sometimes over-analyzing things. So when you just start, sometimes indecision just holds us bound. Just decide that, you know what, I'm just going to do it. Just decide. Once you have done that evaluation, you've used the decide model, you've used a practical, just do something. And also set a timeline for making decisions. I read something, it says that indecision loves open-ended timelines. When there's no timeline to it, you say you want to do your master's, but there's no timeline. 20 years, you are still there, you didn't do the master's. There was never any, and you're trying to decide which university, what course. 20 years has gone by. Why? There was no timeline. You did not think that, okay, you know what? Within 5 years, maybe you don't have a career map. People that I work with, you must have a career map, a 10-year career map. So you have your short-term goals, your mid-term goals, and your long-term goals. All those things, when you order things, when there's structure to things, decision-making becomes so much easier. Is when everything is like cluttered. There's a lot of cluttered in your mind. You don't just want to do anything. Analysis paralysis sets in. You must also know that nothing is perfect at the beginning. So those are the things that stop people from making decisions. Just start something. Yeah, I say to people of faith, sometimes I say this. The Bible says that he orders the steps of the righteous, not the stops of the righteous, the steps of the righteous. Step first. He says, when you step into the Jordan, it will part. Step, take a step. So you stay immobilized and you are thinking something will happen. Nothing happens when you do nothing. So that is what I will say to that. How do I get free from indecision? I've given you some tools, use it, and then take that step. It will not be perfect. Nothing is perfect at the beginning. It is a myth. No matter how well you start something, give it another 3 months, it will be much better. Nothing is perfect at the beginning. So just take that step. If nothing else, organize the next step. Say that, okay, I'm going to start. So I'm just going to organize just the next step of what I'm going to do without even having the full picture. So that's the answer to that. Somebody said, what
In the group, on the chat. Hello, ma.
Yes, yeah.
There's a
Go on.
question on the chat. Let me quickly read that. So Yetunde is asking, are there times we need to make decision following just critical thinking? And are there times we make decisions just by following moral judgment based on current situations?
Thank you very much. That not according to Aristotle, and I totally agree with him. Every time you make decisions, both will be involved. When you make, let me tell you, critical thinking is neither good or bad. How would I say it now? It's like influence is not good or bad, or money is not good or bad. Critical thinking is not good or bad. Bad people use it, good people use it. But it is the moral part of me that makes me use it in a way that is not bad, that will not affect other people. Are you with me, Yetunde? So critical thinking is not a virtue. It's an intellectual virtue. It's not a moral virtue. So you can use your intellect. If you are not a moral person, you will most likely consider yourself and your own interest alone. That is why most of the time you will need, Aristotle says, you cannot, you know, when he said you cannot fly with one wing, that's what Aristotle is saying. That for you to make wise decisions, you must have the two. Who are you? It says, are you virtuous? Are you a moral person? If you're a moral person, you know, morality, I said that was before Christ. Are you with me? So the person might be mixing it with Christianity. Aristotle lived how many years before Christ? Somebody can tell me, years before Christ came. So then in the Greek times or whatever, they thought it was about morality. So there were moral virtues, intellectual virtues, performative virtues. That was what they had. It wasn't a faith-based system. So he's saying that, look, if you are going to make good decisions, who you are, if you're a good person, I would consider that before I just make, you know, my decision will come from my goodness, not just from my intellect. So you need the two. That's what I would say. Now, so I guess maybe today is asking about, let me now say, let's look at Christianity. Maybe the person is looking at Christianity. I wrote something recently on one of my blogs, and I said, as a Christian or faith person, I said, pray as if you would do nothing. 100%, like you would do nothing. Then do something like you have not prayed. That is how it works. Pray as if you are not going to act, that God is going to come down and do it. But when you are finished praying, you now, if you want to start a business or something, first of all, pray as if you are not going to lift a finger. So you are sure, am I to do this business? How do I go about it? He has blessed it. He was the one that even gave you the idea. When you have then done that, my sister, you will now begin to use critical thinking. I want to train. I need to go here. I need to choose this kind of location. I need to market. And you know, because marketing, there's branding. So that is how it works. I hope that answers your question, Yetune. Does it? Next. Does it yet today? Can you put in the chat? I think I'm going to take down this sharing so I can see. Yetunde that asked me a question. Did I answer your question? Good. All right. Princess, be checking if there are any more questions. Somebody said, what would you say, I guess, says, what would you say are key traits in demand in the corporate world for leaders? What would you say are key traits? Do you know what even after talking about practical wisdom again, if I want to hire, first of all, we look at experience, right? You're looking at their performance. And it's so important for those you are going to groom for leadership. So when I want to hire, you're looking at experience, which basically is talking about performance. What have they done before? What do they have to show us that they can function in this role? The next thing we look at is potential. In the past, we would just look at performance, but not in the 21st century. Now we look at performance. Then you will look at potential. How do you look at potential? You will give them scenarios. What would you do in this situation? Because the person can be good on the level that they're at. But if they were to be promoted to the next level, can they function? And that is why I say that succession planning is interwoven with your corporate goals. It is right from the onset. It is not something that you add on 5 years later. I'm looking for successors. It is garbage in, garbage out. It is the people you have brought in that you are supposed to groom for leadership positions. So what are people looking for? They are looking for people who are very good in their technical work. They have the experience. They have the performance to show for it, but they have potential. Isn't that what Aristotle is saying? It is potential. That's the critical thinking. Performance, definitely, that is experience. And character, that is the moral part. I'm going to be looking at character. How is this person? Is this person somebody, when we give them scenarios, you can see that they care about no one. They're not team players. They're very self-absorbed. So that's what I'll be looking for. I hope that answers your question if you're on the platform.
Hi, Ma. There's another question in the chat.
Okay.
So Taiwo is asking, she says, good evening, ma'am. You emphasized listening to team members before deciding. How do you balance diverse team input with making a timely...
Can you please give me a minute? I want someone to give me water. All right. Please repeat the question.
Yes, so she's asking, how do you balance diverse team input with making a timely and firm decision as a leader?
Okay. Beautiful. So immediately I'm going to ask you the question, what kind of leader are you? What's your leadership style? We all have one. And I always recommend, there are many. There are traditional ways of leading, and they are not wrong, but they're just more traditional. And there are modern leadership styles of leading. And that's where you have a lot of things like democratic leadership style, where you have servant leadership style. My favorite is transformational leadership style. Now, there's one now that's the major one right now, and it's called adaptive leadership. That's another ball game entirely. But it's where we should all aspire to get to. Now, transformational leadership develops the team members. You have spent time to develop them. You have shown them that you care about them. Not just their work, not just the deliverables, not just their deadlines. You care about their person. You ask, you know, when they say that, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care. So I have a team. They know I care about them. The way I listen to them, the way I treat them, the way I respect them. Come in. The way I interact with them, the way I look out for their good, the way I develop them. What a transformational leader then does, thank you. What a transformational leader then does is you balance that caring for them with demanding that we meet the goals. That is how it works. So I normally have a scale, something that shows a scale, where it shows I care about you, making you the best version of yourself, but not at the expense of the company. So organizational goals are being met. So they have transformational leaders are firm and friendly. So I'm going to balance it because I would listen to you, for example, if I'm not an autocratic leader, I would listen to you. I will listen to your ideas. Did I not say, for example, I let people talk first? When everybody, I will let them talk. In fact, when some of my leaders want to talk, I'll say, no, don't talk yet. Let us hear. So you see that I have heard you. I'm not going to say, everybody, this is what we're doing. No, I've considered what is right, what you're thinking. If you have a superior argument, that's what I say to my people, give me a superior argument. If you are able to really discuss and show that your way is better, why not? After all, the aim is not to show how brilliant I am. If you are the owner of the company or you are the leader of the team, isn't it success you want? So are you going to let ego say it's the wrong idea? Meanwhile, you know that that idea will give you the success you need. So how to balance it is listen to people, treat them with respect. The fact that you're a leader does not make you God. My people know that. Who are you? You are not God. You are just a leader. If they were to remove that leadership thing, you are just like the next person. So treat them with respect. Listen to them. If they have better ideas, it's collaboration. And all of you think about it and you see the idea is good. Take the idea. It's not about your ego. And when you know, sometimes as a leader, you know that you are 5 steps ahead and this thing this person is saying cannot work. Let them talk. Then I use the coaching method. I'll now ask them questions until they come to their own understanding and say, okay, I get it. That's why this cannot work. It can be done. And that's the best way to lead these days. Excuse me. So it can be done. I hope that answers your question. I think that's Taiwo that asked that. Okay. So I can't answer all. Time is gone. But I want to believe that a lot of the questions would have been answered while I trained because I put that into consideration in the training. Someone said, how do you balance data-driven decisions with practical wisdom? How do you balance data-driven decisions with practical wisdom? I believe that's you would have answered that because data-based decision is what? Is logical reasoning. You've collected data. You've analyzed data using your intellect and your brain, and you've been able to analyze. Remember Bloom's taxonomy, higher order thinking, you've been able to analyze it. Practical wisdom is saying that as you have analyzed it, remember, bring in the moral aspect. Don't say, I've analyzed this teacher. If the teacher has other, maybe, use that. I don't say, this person has to go or whatever. Think about it. Is the person going through some issues? So that moral part, you can, bring it. So again, the answer to that is simply moral judgments or ethical judgments, your critical thinking and experience. That is the answer to that. There were some questions that were really, really good. Someone said, when transiting from a small business to a medium business, what are the necessary requirements to consider before taking the step? Now, when you want to scale, we call it scaling. When you want to scale, there's scaling, there's expansion. They're different. When you are scaling, you are using more or less the same resources, but you're able to do more with it to get more profit out of it. So you are still expanding that way. So imagine a company. Meadowhall started just as a school. But after a while, we started to scale by introducing other subsidiaries to the group. But everything we do is from that same building. That is scaling. Expansion would be, okay, we have gone ahead to acquire maybe another school or to start another, because you need extra resources for that. It's not the same resources. Now, if you are scaling or expanding, whatever you're doing, the same things you did at the beginning, you must do. When I wanted to scale and introduce other subsidiaries, I still did my business research. I did my surveys. I tested it. You will not just start at once. Every step that you will do. I did my strategic planning. What was my SWOT? What are my strengths, my weaknesses? There's something we call PESO. It's an analysis that you do. The political situation, the environmental situation, the social situation, technological situation, legal, and I think the last one I've forgotten now. So PESO, you do your analysis, strategic planning. You do your SWOT, you do your PESO analysis, you will do all those things that you did at the beginning. When you are scaling, you will do them again. That's the mistake people make. They think, oh, business plan. I just need to do that at the beginning. No. You do it because this is another level. So that's how we scale. And you test. When I started Meadowhall, I only started from the infants up to year 3. I did not go all the way to year 6. I needed to test. So that's how we do things. Will you teach on anxiety management as it affects decision making? You know what I said there? Anxiety management as it relates to decision making. You are anxious because you don't know how to make decisions. It is actually, that's why you're anxious. If you have a strategy for making decisions, it takes away anxiety. Because I know the formula. It's like, when you have maths formulas, you know the formula. Once you know the formula, or cooking recipes, if you add 5 cups of water to 5 cups of rice, you know how to turn out. So why are you worried about the jollof rice and how it turn out when you know exactly what to do? So anxiety is you kind of put the cart before the horse. You are anxious because you don't know how to make decisions. If you know how to make decisions, you will not be anxious. Someone said, should I disengage a teacher who is effective in teaching and learning activities, but does not respect authority, struggles to follow directives? So I'm going to see if you guys have learned anything at all. Can somebody answer that question for me? Should I disengage a teacher, very effective in teaching and learning, but honestly, we all have them in our organizations. They don't respect authority. They struggle to follow directives. Should I fire him or her? Who's going to talk? Give me a little breather. Who's going to talk? This class is rather quiet. Train the teacher. Someone says train the teacher. Okay, Jeffrey, you want to talk? Or is your question? I see me, madam. You want to talk? So a lot of people said no. The teacher, as if I say virtues. Be a transformative leader, train the teacher. Maybe the information we don't have here is if you have done a lot of training already. Because right now you have not told us that you haven't told us what you have done. If I'm going to coach you, the first thing when you give me scenarios like that is let me know what you have done thus far and haven't worked. Okay? So when you've told me what you've done thus far and the things haven't worked, then I would be able to advise you. But if you have not done, training of the teacher, there's something else we have introduced in our own group, all our subsidiaries. And I learned it at a course I went for at Stanford University, and it's on coaching skills for leadership. If people can adopt that, honestly, to take your leadership to another level. When you have somebody who reports to you and you can use coaching, you can get everything, you will be able to get them to understand. But guess what? The answer is going to come from them. And when the answer comes from them, hey, that's what learning is. They take ownership of their learning. You're not just saying, I told you to do this, you go for training. So when learning comes from within, it helps. So I would say train, coach. Then we have, what do we call it in Rita, is it capabilities or what? What do we call it? Inka couldn't on me the other time. So you then have a program for them when it's almost like a program that maybe you've coached, you've trained. The last part of it is then, okay, you set targets, you continue to, to work with them, mentor, but it's like a program you've given. It could be a term, if it's a school, for example. It can be a program for a term. After you've trained, you have done everything, then you give them that program. And at the end, capabilities, capabilities, thank you. The capabilities policy. So after a term, you've trained, you have coached, you have mentored, then you put them on that program. It's like a term. So you are then checking on them, you are observing, they're reporting to you. At the end of it, they already know, that at the end of this, having done all this, everything is reported, HR has everything, we would have to let go of you. So there's a time to let go of people. But not before doing all that. And you know why? Most of the time, people are not better. It's our culture, our university, the schools people have gone to, so you let them go, and then you find the person that's coming is even worse. So I'm not quick to just ask people to go. Someone said, how do you manage organization, expansion with work stress and family life? That's just talking about work-life balance. And I say it's a myth. Work-life balance is a myth. I say it's more of work-life integration. So I'm at home sometimes. I've been hanging out with my family, my husband, my children. When I'm on my own, maybe before I go to bed, I'm able to do some work before I sleep. It's not affecting anybody, and I do my work. When I'm at work, it's my lunch time, and I can use that period to sort out maybe what I'm going to cook for dinner or whatever they need to buy. So it's really work-life balance. When your life is well ordered. I'm a planner. When you plan, you're into planning, you have a good structure. When you have good support system, you can expand. When you delegate, when you give people autonomy, a lot of us do not give people autonomy because we don't trust anybody. Everybody is after us. They want to steal my money. They will take my stuff. You are not giving yourself peace of mind. So you cannot expand. How can you expand when you will not let go of the little you have? You can't expand. So having a good work-life balance, understanding how to develop leaders, other people, developing other leaders. When you understand how to do it, the way to do it is train people, empower them, get out of their way, give them autonomy. When you do that, guess what? You can expand. That's my own lived experience. That's my lived experience. I have amazing leaders in all my subsidiaries and other school, amazing leaders. So I'm able to do more. I'm starting a company, all of you, watch out soon. What do they say? Coming soon or what? Watch out. They're starting this amazing company it goes all the way to Africa. How am I able to do that? I have wonderful leaders. I have awesome people. And so I can expand. They are fulfilled. I'm fulfilled. I'm not going to go back and say, everybody bring the job, bring it back. I want to do it by myself. No. So you can't expand if you do not work on your life, work-life balance, trust people, develop leaders, equip them, empower them, pay them well, treat them well, and then you can continue to do other things that you've been created to do. How do you rise above procrastination? I'm going to answer because a lot of us suffer from procrastination. And in the past, people have said to me, anticipate. I don't know what that is. Anticipate what? They should anticipate maybe the next step or something. You put the anticipate. You can just put a bit of note of what that means. How do you rise above procrastination? In the past, people have said to me, how do I overcome procrastination? And I used to say that, honestly, I find it difficult to answer. Because I'm just, we have different strengths. So I don't understand. I really don't. In the past, that's how I used to wonder that. Procrastinate how? How now? How? If you need to do something, then just do it. That's how I used to feel. But now I do understand. People procrastinate. And sometimes we feel that procrastination is just because they're lazy. But since then, I've learned that it's not just, and we're not wired the same. I'm more of a choleric. I'm a type A person. I do. I'm an implementer. By the time I can think of an idea, before you talk to me the next time, I'm already doing it. That's just how God has wired me. But now I know how to help people who procrastinate, because in the past you would think it's just laziness. Just get up and do it. It's not just that. It's part of it though. Some of us, we just rather be on social media. We'll do things that are not going to, help you. We'll do the easy first, difficult later. John Maxwell, there's some trainings. We will let you know. Just join my alumni. There's some trainings I'm going to run. John Maxwell, I think, really also changed my outlook a lot. Whatever you do, whatever you leave for later compounds. Whatever you do not do now, you leave for later compounds. What does that mean? It increases. The more of it will happen. So when I do the hard now, easy later, what will then compound? The easy. The ease will compound. But a lot of us want to do the easy now, which is to rest, procrastinate, not do anything, leave the hard. What then happens? The hard compounds, because maybe something then happens that then, takes the problem to another level because you never handled it. So whatever you leave for later compounds. Procrastination, what you need is a mindset change. Mindset change. I say to people, when I started, building influence, people will say, what's your secret? What's your secret? How did you get to where you got it? I always say there are three things. I normally draw a triangle: spiritual growth, personal growth, professional excellence. Those three. I needed to, first of all, tackle the spiritual. And notice the key word is growth. The spiritual is, has God even called me to do that thing I'm doing? Your fellowship with God, hearing from Him, renewing your mind, because it's really about you changing from within. I focus a lot of that at the beginning. Professional excellence, I've always been a learner. I will go for trainings. My people will go for trainings. What I didn't understand for a long time was the personal growth. Personal growth is where the mind. Personal growth is who you are. That is where you have building resilience, confidence, discipline, all those things that are mind related, soul area. Spiritual, that's the spirit part. Professional is usually you are doing something. That soul, that is where the problem is. So procrastination needs a mindset change. Is your mind. That's part of personal growth. So you need to, and I like something, I read it somewhere. It talks about the 10-minute rule for those who procrastinate. Have what is called the 10-minute rule. I'm just going, that thing that you don't want to do, you just say to yourself, I'm going to work on that project just for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. So I'm supposed to, what's an example? I'm supposed to go and register a company. I'm supposed to register a company I want to start. But I'm like, oh God, how do I even think of a name? Things like that. When the mindset shift, do 10 minutes. I'm going to spend just 10 minutes to decide, or maybe researching for a name. Just 10 minutes. You will see that even that, because when something is healed, how do I even start? When you kind of limit it into small chunks like that, it works. I will just work on that thing for 10 minutes. By the time you start 10 minutes, let me tell you what happens. You won't even want to stop. It is starting something that is hard. It's the starting it that is hard. So that should help a lot of people that procrastinate. Some of us is perfectionism. You just want it to be perfect. Nothing is perfect at the beginning. So please just start. My favorite, Nike says, just what is it? Just do it or something. I always say, just start. Just start. Do that thing. I don't analyze into paralysis. I will start it. Even if it fails, then I've learned something. I will start. So far, I don't do stupid risks. So I do calculated risks. I've prayed about it. I've discussed with people that I think can help me. I start. Just start. Yes, that's what I say. Just start. So a lot of questions about procrastination. How do you rise above procrastination? It is your mind, and you need to tackle it. You need to tackle it. If you're a Christian, the person that's the question. The Bible says in Romans 12:1-2, it says, you are transformed by the renewal of your mind. Your mind has to be renewed in this area and in every other area. So that's what I would say there. So we're rounding up soon. Are we learning? Are we learning? Let me see. Are we learning? Let me see in the chat. Are we learning? 5 minutes, we round up because we would have spent 2 hours. We're rounding up in 5 minutes. Yes, good. Somebody says, there was one question that I really, really, really liked. Yes, I really loved this question. But the person said, I like to do a perfect job. And I've realized that this lengthens my turnaround time. How can I strike a balance between excellence and speed? And I thought, because a lot of us, especially if you believe in excellence, you really want the job to be excellent. Now, there's a time factor. How do you combine the two? I feel that one thing I do before I go into other answers is, how do you see excellence? Excellence for me is not perfection. I grew up with a mother who was a perfectionist. So I struggled with perfectionism for quite a while. Everything had to be perfect. My hair, place, the picture on the wall must be right. They say it's something that is even like something like it's not a mental condition, but it's like neuro, whatever. So people who are like, perfection is good, but it shouldn't be obsessive. So the beautiful thing about what my mother taught us was doing things properly. Growing up, I have then realized that excellence is being better tomorrow than I was yesterday. It is continuous improvement. It is not everything is perfect. So sometimes when I'm like in my house, I can see that this picture is actually bent. That's how I started to wean myself off perfectionism. I can see it's a little bit bent, and I'll leave it like that for a while because I'm teaching myself everything doesn't have to be. So how do I achieve doing a perfect job? You can see that person that asked that question. You want to do a perfect job. Perfection is not achievable. You're going to put yourself under so much pressure. What I recommend is excellence. And excellence is simply being better tomorrow than you were yesterday. Now, I would also say this. When it comes to excellence, this was an answer, then I also researched it. Clarify the task that requires excellence. It's not everything. When there are some things that require excellence, 4 of them, strategic decisions. If I'm going any decision, my planning and execution of it, I'm excellent in my, I have considered everything. Decide, model, practical wisdom, spoken to people, experience. Your strategic decisions must be excellent. Anything that is client facing. So you run an organization. What is the experience of the client? Have your internal customers been trained? How do they receive people from the gate? How do you talk to customers? How do you care for your customers? Anything that is customer facing must be excellent. There is no excuse for mediocrity. My people know if I'm going to any of our schools, As I'm entering, I'm looking at it from through the eyes of somebody who has never been there. So they already know. So when they go in, they themselves have learned to look at things through my eyes, because I'm not going to have an opportunity again for a prospective parent to come back. So client-facing things must be excellent. There's no reason for mediocrity there. Anything that is going to affect your brand must be excellent. If we put something up, my people know, oh God, I'm so blessed. I'm blessed because the people who have worked with me, they just get it. Now you would never, please, the day you see any post that is Meadow Hall, LPSS, Spring Meadow Edutainment, send me a message. They already understand the background must be correct. Because people would, you say you're excellent, you take a picture, you will see one broken thing at the back. How? That's your brand. Especially if your brand then says, because our brand talks a lot about excellence and godliness and all these things. So anything that is brand facing, is so, I will look at things sometimes, I'm almost moved to tears, because I will look at the quality, the concentration that they are put into what is put up. I work with social media people, amazing team, amazing people, but they also know anytime there's a mistake, I'm like, what? I beg you cannot. So anything that is brand facing, you're representing your brand, client facing, strategic decisions, and key relationships, excellence. You see, some other things that it must still be good quality. Let me say sometimes, as I said to you now, I'm in my study right now. A picture is like this, and I'm like, it has to be. That's not. Yeah, it can be like that. So I'm not saying do things in a wishy-washy way, but some things there's no excuse, and that would help you, because when you also delegate some things, you have more time to give to what you need to do. I thought it was a very, very good question. As we round up, we have rounded up. Last question, because it's already time. Is there any question that anybody feels that they have to have answered? Somebody talked about being assertive in leadership and being autocratic. I've mentioned it. Through transformational leadership, have emotional intelligence, consider your people, be open to their input, acknowledge their emotions, don't be dismissive, be a transformational leader. I believe that most of the questions have been answered. Any other things so we can go? Princess says we can watch the full recording on YouTube. Any other question? Thank you, Helen. Any other question?
All right, so I have a question.
Gary, please go ahead.
Yes. So how do you deal with the guilt too? When you have to make tough decisions, if you know that you can't make everyone happy. They would always be upset. How do you deal with it?
Gary, you are, I don't know you, but you are speaking my language. How do you cope with it? I just got back from, again, I say these things, I'm motivating you guys. So I don't need to post for anybody. I'm motivating you guys. I go for courses. I spend money to go on courses. I just came back from one. And people are like, what does she even, because without those courses, I cannot come and teach you. That's why I go for the courses. I attended a course recently in Harvard. It's called The Art and Practice of Leadership. Dari, that is what we're talking about. It's called adaptive leadership. I want you to go and research it. And adaptive leadership says that leadership is a very difficult thing. We feel that as leaders, we have to solve everybody's problem. We have to deliver. Everybody's looking to us. When we don't deliver, the abuser, and she says she's a leader. Can you imagine? Meanwhile, adaptive leadership means that you will have to disappoint some people because you cannot satisfy everybody. Because you have to bring things, discussions that are tough, discussions that They modeled it for us. We were there for this art and practice. So there was this lecturer who is an authority in adaptive leadership. One old man like that, very elderly. He was teaching us, and we had a class. It was, like I said, it's an advanced Harvard Kennedy School of Leadership. So leaders from all over, top people. And then this man gave us a scenario. And there was a lady who were to talk about a problem that we had, a problem that didn't have a technical fix. Technical fixes means there's a policy, there's something that you can do. There are models that you can use. I can't make decisions. Okay, you use a decide model. You use this. Problems that are like, there is no easy fix. Those are that. So the lady presented a problem, which had to do with what's going on in America right now. The federal government getting into the business of universities and defunding them and things like that. Now, that person was in another university, but she shared her case with the class. Now, you know that Harvard itself is going through an issue right now with federal government. So this guy, highly experienced, who was teaching us about adaptive leadership, how you have a holding environment where people can air their thoughts, where you must be, you must be ready to hear, you leaders, you must be ready to hear truths, and let them speak and bring suggestions. This guy got so involved in the case because it's his own lived experience right now, because federal government is on Harvard. The man, by the time it was done, the lady was there standing for the whole class. By the time the man came back, there's no abuse. They did not abuse this elderly man. Adaptive leadership. And they were all, at one point, I had to speak up that, look, I said, I hear everybody. I know how that lady felt. I said, but as a leader, I know how easy it can happen. You know, when because you know the answer, and it just went on and on and on and on. So what am I saying? Adaptive leadership is what they modeled to us, even though unconsciously. He was able to, the situation, there was no answer to what had happened. From the lady's question to what then ensued, where the whole thing was upside down. It was such a toxic, I just wanted to go home. I just like, what kind of, that is adaptive leadership. The people felt disappointed at the man. The answer, he did not have any direct answer because there's a question that he could not have an answer for. That is where leadership is. That is the true test of leadership. We were taught that leadership comes from a Latin word, Leit. It means to die. To die. So die to self. Die. So all this one that we think leadership is about being hero worshipped. I'm a leader. I can do anything. I can talk. If that's not leadership, leadership is tough. Leadership is bringing yourself down. How did Jesus lead? How did, leadership is being able to say, I have no answer. Leadership is letting some people down. They feel bad. You mentioned once you had to let some people go. That is leadership. It is tough sometimes. They started with you. You love them to bits. But because of certain reasons, you had to let them go. They feel you're bad. Some other people feel you're bad, but you needed to take some tough decisions. That is leadership. It's called adaptive leadership. I enjoin all of you. What I plead with all of you. Go and study something called, if you're a leader here, go and study what is called adaptive leadership. That is leadership in these days. Tough, Dari, very tough.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope you've gotten one or two things, and please make sure that you keep in touch. We would send you maybe a link to join my alumni. I was going to just share, but I'll send a link to join my alumni, and you would have messages, courses I run from time to time, free courses, paid courses. I coach. and all that. So I do free mentorship most of the time. I don't never charge for mentorship, but I have organized mentorship. I don't just do one-on-one. I have a mentorship initiative for coaching. Yes, you would pay for that, but there's nothing like being coached and then getting you out of where you're stuck. All right. Thank you, everybody. Let me see. All right. Thank you all. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you, adaptive leadership. Here we come. Vera. Good. Very good. Good, good, good. Thank you, everybody. Bye. You're all welcome. Very interesting class. Thank you so much. Bye. God bless you. Bye.